it's your girl Cheryl Lynn, and you're watching Sweep the League on Alamo City Podcast Network.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League.
All right, guys, it is Friday. We are sweeping the league once again. It is Rudy Campos Jr. I will be joined by the coach himself, Coach Gio. Rocky will be here later on in the show. He's actually on his way to from work. So his phone bill's paid. He's actually trying to get on the computer. So for all you out there that think we clowning on Rock, we're actually not clowning on Rock. He'll be on the show later today. We'll be talking a lot here. We're going to talk about new Spurs location, arena downtown. That's being talked about. Also, NFL salary cap news came out today. They actually they upped the salary cap, so you're going to have teams that are going to have a lot more cap space than expected. The Dallas Cowboys actually are not one of them. We're going to get into that talk as well. Also, LeBron James in a Pistons uniform. It's Flashback Friday. Gio and I are going to talk about that because how would LeBron have been not only in the era back in the 80s and 90s, but how would he have been as part of the bad boys? And it's an interesting conversation because that came up yesterday, and we're going to share that detail here with you in a little bit here as we sweep the league again. And also we're going to rewind the week, talk about whatever we talked about this past week as well. Let's go ahead and bring in the man, the myth, the legend himself, the true host of the show here, Coach Gio. Again, the big heads. We got the big heads going on, Gio, man. You know, hey, dude, of course, you know, it's always Tim. Tim's going to want you to break down the Duke and Miami game from the other night. Tar Heels.
Well, there's not much to break down. Duke won. I mean, you saw that they were clicking all cylinders. I thought that the Tar Heels,
you got Carolina on your mind.
Hurricanes would have played a lot better, but I mean, Duke just came to play. A lot of guys showed up. Roach, Foster, Mitchell. Hey, it was just a beautiful blue scene up there. And
after you said they were on upset alert, I cannot believe you, Joe. You don't have a faith in your own team.
Well, look, you go on the road. It's not about not having faith. It's just about, hey, sometimes teams losing. In college basketball, you saw Creighton beat Connecticut just this week. So. Yeah.
Well, I think Creighton's a lot better than Miami. I mean, Miami's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, Creighton is ranked. But yeah.
It is. So there's your breakdown, Tim. Your damn breakdown of the Blue Devils and Hurricanes game given to you by Coach Gio, where you kind of just basically said, who gives a care? Who cares about this game? It was just another victory for the Duke Blue Devils. One more step closer to being the second best team in the ACC because Carolina rules all.
Well, Rudy, who's going to go further? Blue Devils or Tar Heels this year?
Tar Heels, I think.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick Duke. I'll take Georgia Tech or somebody over Duke. Florida State, I don't know. I'm not going to take anybody over Tar Heels. Come on, man.
Even if your team was trash and didn't even make the tournament, you would still take them?
No, if they're trash, I said it last year. I said they're trash. I mean, they were trash last year. And if Carolina's trash, they're trash. I mean, it is what it is, man. I'm never going to sugarcoat anything on that. Chris Gonzalez, only feet. Who has an only feet page today? Gee, are you starting the only feet page? Because we talked about you last time on Wednesday.
No,
not yet. No only feet page.
Nope. I think
you're the one that said that people are going to pay big bucks for feet.
No, I'm just saying the consensus out there. Feet picks make good money. I've heard of it. Not that I do it, but you hear about stuff all the time.
That's why you can afford that nice, setup you have right there with the mic and the Rode, whatever that is, the mic stand. I have a cheap old mic. This is what I have.
Look, see, I can even move it around, Rudy. Look at that.
You see, I don't even have that. I'm gonna have to start an OnlyFans, man. I'm gonna have to start an OnlyFans so I can start getting me some updates.
Well, I got it on sale on Amazon, so it's like it was a good deal.
You didn't even share the link with me? I mean, come on, man. I need to look professional.
Rudy, you have great pictures back there. I have a bunch of random lights, a pair of flowers back there. So
Oh, the flower. Come on, man. Are those the flowers that I sent you? I know I
Yeah.
sent you some flowers there. All right,
Yeah.
cool. I'm glad you're displaying them here. Hey, man. So hey, they want to rock up the Spurs, plus the Kings. Let's get into Cheeseman real quick here. We're gonna start the Spurs Cheeseman segment here. This is Sweep the League Monday through Friday, 3:30 p.m.
So, like, I hear about the Spurs this y Spurs that, y como que esto y esta, pero I never hear about the real Spurs chisme. Dime, por favor.
Gracias para todo, our Spurs Cheeseman girl. The Spurs Cheeseman, man. I mean, we're gonna get straight into it, Gio. And I know you're not from you don't live in San Antonio, so you may not have a whole lot when it comes to location, but we've got here, Don Harris reported, of course, it came out to other sources as well. The city can now negotiate with the University of Texas over the Institute of Texan Culture, which is downtown. They can basically say the new Spurs arena there. Now, this is a building, Gio, that is right next to the Tower of the Americas. I mean, literally, it's pretty damn close to it. Not right next to it right there. I mean, it's right next to the Tower of the Americas, right near the Alamo Dome. So if they're able to negotiate, now they're not talking about busting down the Texan culture or getting rid of all that stuff. I think they're talking about relocating it to UTSA's campus or somewhere around that whole scheme of things over there. So there's the downtown part right there, man. I mean, there you go. You wanted a downtown location. It would put the Spurs downtown. Frostbank would probably be the namesake until when they get it there, but does this actually help the Spurs as far as, hey, their location they're at right now is not great. It's kind of, east side of town. And it's weird. My wife brought up another point when it came to this stuff yesterday. So I'm going to bring up that in a minute. But moving to downtown, this is prime location for the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, this is what everybody's begging for. I mean, you heard your boy, your favorite guy, Michael Jimenez, talk about it. So, saying that nobody gives a rat's ass basically about the Institute of Texan Culture and nobody cares about history. Your boy, man. Spurs downtown, Gio, makes more sense for San Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, wait, do you mean the Spurs to move it downtown? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically going from they're on the east side of town.
Yeah.
Now they're going downtown.
No, and I think it makes sense. I mean, look, for NBA teams, Rudy, I do feel a lot of the NBA teams are situated, and I mean, baseball is a little bit different because obviously there's a lot going to it, but I think it makes a lot of sense. The downtown area, I mean, the Chicago Bulls, where I used to live, downtown, the Hornets, downtown, the Magic, where I used downtown. So it just makes the most sense to have a team located downtown, though obviously with traffic and a lot of things kind of revolve around that as well, but the San Antonio, how big is the downtown, Rudy? I remember it being pretty smallish.
So San Antonio is not.
I'm sure it's grown,
it's not
but
big. Well, I mean, it's a growing city. But when you talk about downtown, I mean, San Antonio is it's Commerce Street basically. I mean, that's downtown. Yeah, everything's you've got Tower of the Americas, you got the Institute of Texas Culture, you got River Center Mall. You have San Fernando Cathedral. I mean, there's like a good area of downtown that's downtown. It's not a massive downtown like, where you're driving through Dallas, Fort Worth, all that stuff. And then you got massive downtown. It's nothing like that. So I get it. It's a very small area, but this could, because what they started to do in that area, Gio, is they started to put, newer apartment complexes, better, living around that area where the Institute of Texas Culture is. So it basically is upgrading, the area downtown. And there's actually, what I'm thinking, next to Alamo Dome, there's a lot of areas right there that, maybe they could purchase more land around there. There's some businesses there. The possibilities of maybe getting that land too. I didn't really think about that part. But I think it is beneficial if you put it right there with the culture, especially if you don't get rid of it. I'm not, for one, yes, I haven't visited the Texan culture since I was in, elementary school.
Shame on you, Rudy.
It's not. You want to know a secret, Gio? I've never been to the Alamo. I've never visited the Alamo, and I live in San Antonio.
Are you, Rudy? I've been to the damn Alamo. I've been there. I've been there before. You haven't been to the Alamo?
I swear on everything. I've never been to the Alamo. Lord. Not even on a field trip. I've never been to the Alamo, and I live here.
You haven't taken your daughter over there?
I have not taken my daughter to the Alamo. at all. I do need to. I really need to. Now that I have a daughter, I do need to. But I've never visited the Alamo. I don't know why.
Well, that's like me being born in New York and never being at the Statue of Liberty. It's like, dude, you live there.
Exactly. And I've gotten the same response, man. I've gotten the same response.
What Texan you are, Rudy?
I know I have failed my San Antonio roots by saying I have not visited the Alamo, but I will. I'll visit the Alamo one day. I mean, one day.
Honestly, Rudy, this is not much, but it was cool history. To go. Yeah. It's history. I'm a big history buff, so when I went there, that was one of the first things I saw. I will say the food on the Riverwalk, because I think the Riverwalk's not too far from there. The Riverwalk food is pretty terrible. Tourist trap, should I say?
Well, it's designed to do what it's supposed to do. It's tourist stuff. I mean, it's to attract the tourists.
Because I stood at the Marriott Hotel on the Riverwalk. It was the something center, or hold up, I'm trying to remember how can I forget? Anyway, I was working at the Marriott and I was helping out. So I was there for a few months and I was in San Antonio for a bit. But yeah, you need to go, Rudy.
I promise I will go. And you know what? I'll even do a snapshot of me there and share it to everybody to prove that I go to the Alamo. But yeah, I've never been to the Alamo. I mean,
what have you been to any of the historical?
Well, you can't get any more historical than the Buttercrust, factory when they would go as a kid and they would give you the piece of bread, the fresh bread with the butter on it. I mean, they would give you the book covers. You remember book covers, Gio, when we had to cover our textbooks?
Yeah.
Kids these days don't even know what a textbook is, man, but we had to cover our textbooks back then. Buttercrust would give it that and a pencil and I think an eraser at the time. But outside of that, I've been into the Texan culture.
Wait, have you done the Riverwalk tour?
Oh, the barge? Yeah, I've done the barge. I've done the barge part. And ironically, I never did the barge until my daughter was born.
Oh my God.
So that's
what do you do?
10 years. I had bro.
What did you do there when you were younger, man? Where were you going?
Well, I was obviously not downtown. If I went downtown when I was younger, it was either I went to school downtown in high school, but also River Center Mall was pretty much it. Or I would cruise Commerce Street on Friday and Saturday nights, man. It was jam-packed with kids, cruising down Friday and Saturday nights on Commerce. So that's all I did. I never had the urge to go to the Alamo. I never had the urge to go, anywhere. I mean, the barge thing, again, for me, it wasn't nothing. It's more for my daughter than anything. I never had the urge to do any of that stuff, man. Did you do the barge when you came?
Oh, yeah.
You did? How'd you like it?
Pretty cool. I mean, it's just another, I wouldn't say tourist trap, right? But it's just another thing to do there. I mean, there wasn't a ton of things to do, but really, as a Texan, you have never been to the Alamo. It's just, and you live in that city. It's like, wait, has your wife been?
Yes, my wife has been.
Okay, well,
yes.
Good for her. She's a lot smarter, but
I think everybody in the entire city more likely has been to the Alamo. I'm probably the only exception. I've been to the Alamo, man.
Have you driven by there at least, or no?
Yes, I know where the Alamo is. So not a Jimenez tall tale, but a tale is that for one of the dates that my wife and I went on, prior to marriage, we actually met in Alamo Plaza where the Alamo is, and took her on one of the magical horse carriage rides.
Wow, big baller back then, Rudy.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what? You got to spend a few bucks there, man. You gotta wine and dine, the lady, and also, I mean, that's just kind of what I had to do. So, but we never made it to the Alamo because it was closed. It was the evening, man. I'll visit the Alamo. I'm sorry, I should have probably never admitted to that, but
yeah, no, I mean, you should. That should have been something that you did. I'm pretty sure that everyone on this podcast who's listening right now has probably been to the Alamo. Jeff, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure you've been to the Alamo. I can almost guarantee Jeff has been there.
Everybody's been to the Alamo, from what I'm understanding. I mean, Marriott River Center, Jeff. So that's probably where you stayed at.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John is saying I've really only been to the basement of the Alamo. Apparently. It kind of sucks, technically, when Pee Wee Herman has been there before I have ever visited the Alamo. I mean, technicality, man.
He passed away, right, Rudy?
Yes, Paul Rubens, he did pass away. Rudy must have been Jenny Little Troy at the time. Well, little Troy that's I want to be a baller, shot caller, 20-inch, whatever on the Impala. Yeah. So, yeah, I was definitely listening to Little Troy, man. And I think that's what we need to do about the next not podcast, but the whole music thing that Joe's doing with the Alamo City Podcast Network. They released a Dad Bod or Dad Rocks or whatever this week. We need to do some rap, dude. Some old school rap, like Warren G, probably Little Troy. Obviously, you got Dr. Dre and all that good stuff.
Warren Buffett, you know?
Warren Buffett, bro. We need to relax with that, man. Nonetheless, man. Hey, I mean, so building the Spurs arena, going back to, man, I just saw this comment. Texas culture building like a fish fry. Yeah, it's only really made just for field trips. I mean, nobody wants to go there, just out of the blue on a Saturday. Even though I think my wife mentioned to me, Gio, one time we were driving by, we should have the Texas culture. I'm like, for what? I mean, it's
to see your heritage, Rudy.
I saw my heritage when I was in kindergarten. What the heck do I want to see it again? I mean,
wait, Rudy, have you been to Mexico?
Yes, I have. I have been to Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah,
just curious.
Yeah, I've been to Mexico, and I probably won't ever go back. But it's been a while since I've been.
Why is that? Are you
I am
a
terrified.
fugitive?
No, I am terrified of Mexico. Literally terrified. Well, as it was yesterday. We went. My wife and I. We did go down to the border yesterday.
That's the thing. You're pretty close, right, to the border?
Yeah, I am. I'm really close. 3 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours away from the border.
Are you? Well, I'll say this. I think a lot of people that I've talked to over the years, they always say, stay in the resorts. Just stay there. Don't leave.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much you stay in the resorts. Don't drink the water. And you should be fine.
Yeah, 100% stay in the resort area. Don't. Well, I didn't venture out. I ventured out. Well, we had a group that we were with. So I only ventured out when we would leave with them and then we would come back to the hotel. I didn't go anywhere else.
I did see a video that a good amount of Americans really are moving to Mexico City. But
you can count this guy out.
Not everywhere, obviously, is probably the most safest. As you hear these random stories of people just disappearing. So yes, I'm going to go to Mexico one day. I haven't been there just yet, but I'm probably going to stay at a resort.
Definitely stay at a resort. Now, there's parts of Mexico you definitely can go to and be okay.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, definitely, don't want to drive through there either. Don't drive there at all, Gio. But Mario Cavazos is true. The Whitty Museum has the same shit as the Texan culture. Again, I think San Antonio's got great museums. I think, what you see at the Texas culture, you can see somewhere else. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, hell, we have I think every major city has a planetarium. I went to the planetarium one time. That was pretty cool. That was really, really cool. But yeah, the Whitty Museum, I actually like the Whitty Museum. Fun fact, I've actually been to the Whitty Museum about 4 or 5 times, in my life.
Oh, nice.
So,
okay.
I've been to a couple of things, man. I haven't been to the Alamo, but I mean, I've been to a couple of things. So it kind of makes up.
Well, I mean, look, we're not going to take away your Texan card, Rudy, but you're also pretty close there.
You really should. You really should take away my Texan card. Yeah, no, I mean, Charles, I don't know. We'll move on, man. But yeah, I mean, the downtown thing for the San Antonio Spurs, I think it makes sense if you move the Texan culture away, put it, I think where UTSA campuses, put the arena there. That would pretty be awesome for San Antonio. It would bring a lot more business to downtown San Antonio. But again, my biggest fear, Gio, is always the same thing. It's like, man, it's going to be super duper crowded because it's not a big downtown at all.
That's what I'm saying. When I was there, it was a small city, but it felt like a big town. If that kind of makes sense. That there's a lot going on. It's very spread out.
Yeah.
And fun fact, my parents have always wanted to live in San Antonio. So really, it's possible in the next 5 years they might move there. You might see me more often. I don't know.
All right, man, that would be nice. Should we let everybody know that you and I have been doing this for almost 8-9 years already, and you and I have never met in person.
I know.
This has been, you and I have had the longest You've Got Mail, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan type of
we have an online relationship
for forever, man. You and I have never met in person. So when you finally do,
Rudy disappeared on me a few times, but
you disappeared on me, man. That's the way it is.
Why not disappear? You know what? Sometimes life gets in the way, Rudy?
Yeah, it is true. Life does get in the way, man. To me, I think it's better for personally downtown restaurants and bars. Yeah, I mean that'll drive a lot of the economy up there downtown. Mario Cavazos. Have you been to a Claiborne Meat Market on Claiborne Road? You know what, Mario? I will tell you this much. I've been to Culebra meat markets. I actually lived in my childhood home. I lived off of Culebra, General McMullen. And of course, everybody knows there's a Culebra meat market on Culebra right there, right before you get to St. Mary's University. And it's actually right next to one of the best barbacoa places in town, Gio. And that's La Amistad. La Amistad, that's one of the reasons why I got fat. I'm going there every single Sunday, getting barbacoa for the family there. And I mean, La Amistad is awesome. So if you ever came down, I'd take you into the deep roots of San Antonio where I used to live, get you some good food there. But yeah, Culebra Meat Market.
It's like a Mexican grocery store, right?
Culebra Meat Market, yeah, you could say that. Mexican, yeah, it's like a grocery store.
Yeah, because I know in Chicago there were a lot of like Mexican, supermarkets, which were always my favorite because they always had
the best stuff, man.
The best stuff. The meats are out, even cooked food there. Always a pleasure.
Exactly. Downtown is perfect because we can ride into the Saves in over the river market. Yes, sir. Yeah, he knows it, man. He knows it. So, to sum it all up, basically with with the Spurs possibly moving downtown, it's a good win-win for the San Antonio community, getting the Spurs back downtown, the roots of Hemisphere Arena. Then you've got the Alamo Dome where they once played. I mean, think about it. Their first title came in the Alamo Dome. So new arena downtown, perfect. What do you do with that arena over there by the Coliseum, the Frost Bank Center? Do you tear it down? I mean, I don't know what you do with that thing.
How old is the arena?
Man, so 2003, 2002. So it was. I mean, they won their second championship in that arena. So that's
how many years are you? Because I know, obviously with the Sonics, right? Like they couldn't get a deal done. Mm-hmm. How many years? Like how long can you have an NBA arena? Is there what was it, 20-something years already? Right? I think that's kind of.
I think there is a limit to
some sort of limit that I think it's maybe 23, 20. I mean, I don't know, but
yeah, there is a limit.
I was thinking about the Spurs arena. I was like, didn't they just open that? But football is different, right? Because football, the Raiders had that damn thing for a long time, Rudy, and they were even planning on.
It was the Coliseum, man. I mean,
it was the Coliseum. I mean, the Chargers. They didn't get a new stadium, right? They went with the freaking Rams. Losers.
I don't think there's actually a time frame. I think what it is you have to have updates. You got to you got to update your play because you're talking about Fenway Park. I mean, they still make updates to Fenway Park from time to time.
Well, yeah, it doesn't mean like baseball to me seems so different because the historical aspect, but the NBA seems. I gotta say, 25 years, Rudy. Probably you better get some stuff done, or you're probably gotta get a new basketball arena.
100%, dude.
I assume when the Sonic, because I think we can agree with this, the Sonics are going to eventually come back.
Yeah, they're going to expand.
That they're going to expand. I think the Sonics will be back, and they're obviously going to get a. To me, Rudy, it's crazy that we have basketball in Oklahoma City. We have basketball in Sacramento, California. We have basketball in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a basketball team in Seattle. It's just the fans there have been there, Rudy. They're passionate. One of the great sport fan bases in America here, and we don't have a damn basketball team.
But you've got two baseball teams in Florida. To me, that makes no sense. Oh, I don't understand these baseball teams. Given the Rays are doing better. I mean, they're better.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays have been historically, at least over the last decade. But think about this, Rudy. I remember I tagged you. Orlando's trying to get a baseball team.
I know. Makes no sense.
Orlando, Rudy.
Zero
Disney sense. World. I just don't see it. Mm-hmm. But Orlando's tried over the years to get other professional teams, mainly, obviously, football and baseball. If Orlando gets a baseball team, I think there's just too much stuff going on. I don't think it's going to work out. But anyway, they're trying.
Yeah, basketball in Memphis. That's kind of a one that I never really truly understood, even though it makes some sense.
And their first arena was weird, right? Was it like a pyramid, Rudy?
Isn't it still the pyramid?
No, it was the old. No, I gotta think that they have a new arena. It was the old.
It was a pyramid. I mean, it was the pyramid in Memphis. Yeah, I remember because I would drive by it when we were living in Ohio. We would go to Ohio. We moved there. Then we would come back to San Antonio, drive back and visit. We would always see the pyramid right off the river.
Yeah, no, I was saying, do you think Canada will get another basketball? Because there's been conversations about that.
Honestly,
Vancouver, I don't know.
I think you'll see. Okay, so it's weird. I think before Canada, you may see a team in Mexico first, or you may see a team in Europe, like Paris or somewhere, before Canada gets another team. Which would kind of suck NBA schedule wise for overseas because
Well, even the NBA players for Canada when they had to go to Vancouver, it's not too far from Seattle, but still, it's probably a pain just to go through customs, right, Rudy? Go through all the hoopla you got to go through. I do think Canada will get another team, whether that's in Vancouver, Calgary. They have the Calgary Flames there in hockey. It's gonna be interesting to see. Baseball too. Rudy, do they go back? It sucks that Montreal obviously doesn't have a baseball team anymore. But
there's a documentary coming out on that.
Yeah, yep.
On the Montreal Expos, why they left. I think baseball in Canada was a great thing. Montreal was great. You got the Toronto Blue Jays in baseball still.
Well, the Blue Jays, very passionate fan base. I remember when the Mariners played them a few years ago in the playoffs. It was a loud arena. They like baseball. Football would be interesting in Canada. I feel like you need to do a dome, but I don't know.
Yeah, you do. Man, this is Sweep the League. Yeah, it's a Bass Pro Shop now in Memphis. This is Sweep the League. Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Jr. We come to you every single Monday through Friday from 2 to 3:30 p.m. The Rock's going to be joining us later on today. He's actually on his way, so once he clocks in here, we'll get him on this show. We were talking about the downtown location for San Antonio, but before we move on, be sure to go to YouTube, search Alamo City Podcast Network. That way you can get all the notifications for when we are live, as well as Generation Duo has their episode with Brandon Medina gets dropped. Also, the Alamo City Sportscast with Michael Jimenez and Joe Garcia. They get you started in the morning. We clean up the shit in the afternoon. Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Jr. So, man, the other thing too, Gio, is I brought this up too about the whole Spurs thing, because my wife and I, while we were leaving yesterday on vacation for a one-day trip, she made a point. She's like, if you notice, a lot of arenas and stadiums and stuff are built on cheap land in the city. And it kind of makes sense as to why you don't have a lot of places these days downtown, because we know the downtown land is expensive. And to me, it's a good point. The Spurs built the Frost Bank Center, which is now the Frost Bank Center on the east side of town, probably because the land was very inexpensive. They save a lot of money that way. So is that the reason why we see a lot of teams building outside of downtown, maybe in a suburb and stuff, because that land is so cheap, they save so much money and they kind of get it back to themselves in the end?
Yeah. Look, we see this in other sports, Rudy. Like we talked about the Bears. Hey, the Bears, look, they couldn't get a deal done potentially with Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who's, by the way, no longer the damn mayor, but the Bears want to move to Arlington Heights, which is in the suburbs. They want an indoor facility. A lot of other teams are thinking suburbs and kind of getting creative, right? If you have a metro system, right? Because with Chicago, Rudy, you can hop on the metro and you can head to Arlington Heights, and boom, you don't have to even use your car to get to that area. So it just makes more sense to have a way. Get it more creative. You don't just have to be in downtown. I do think NBA arenas are normally around it, but we see in baseball, there's teams that are not always in the downtown area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. I think the land thing has a lot to do with it. And, San Antonio making it in the downtown arena, what they also could do is now the dome is there. You would put the Spurs arena there. If they can get a little bit of land where the dome is, like I said, there's a lot of older businesses there. Of course, you have homes that are still there, residential areas and stuff. But somewhere around there, you can possibly put, a baseball stadium to kind of go.
Does it make sense to keep the Alamo Dome?
No, I'm not saying to tear it down. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying. Do you think it makes sense to keep the Alamo Dome, though?
That's such a big discussion, because it's been a fact that the dome is paid for in full. So, tearing it down and then building a whole new state-of-the-art dome, it makes sense. But wouldn't we need a guarantee before we even decide to do anything like that? You got to have some kind of guarantee before you go, demolishing and building stuff. I mean, you don't want to do it just to do it. That's just my train of thought. I would want a guarantee from somewhere.
Well, I'm sure other people are thinking, hey, let's build it first, and then we could show other sports teams, hey, we did this. Screw Jerry. Can you bring a team over here, right? So,
well, apparently we're all simple-minded, uneducated. We don't have the right thought process, according to an article that was presented by the SA Current of Michael Jimenez earlier today. So it is what it is, man. I think, I think if you're right, you can build it, they come. But me personally, I look at it as a business aspect. Hey, give me a guarantee that we're going to get something. And you know what? I don't need a guarantee from a year from now. Just, hey, when we do expansion again, or we have a relocation of a team, give me a guarantee, whether it be MLB or whether it be NFL. I need some kind of guarantee.
Well, I mean, how about well, you already have soccer, but you don't have an MLS team, right? You just have a.
No, I went to Austin. Austin ended up getting the MLS team. So,
God.
Again, San Antonio is,
you guys are always like just
the redheaded stepchild of everything.
You're always around there flirting with new teams and stuff, but you never. I mean, you did get the XFL team.
Got the XFL. We got the arena team with the gunslingers. I mean, we've got some, and you have UTSA, which UTSA football, definitely. It's kicked off really well, and it's still going now with Jeff Traylor. I mean, everything's going great.
I'm surprised he's still there, Rudy.
That's a whole subject for another.
I'm surprised that they must have some pictures of Jeff or something.
He's done a good job. And
no, I know.
Loyalty speaks volume for Jeff. I respect the hell out of him because I know there's a lot of teams that are hounding him.
That's what I'm saying. He's probably could have. Hey, he could have took the IU job here in Indiana. I mean, it's. Mm-hmm. He had his opportunities, but he's sticking there, and in an era where you have NIL, which is obviously a new era in college football, it's good to see someone stay.
Yeah, Tim brings up a point that I hear a lot. The city is not a sports town, and that's actually the review. One of the review things that we were going to review at the end of the show was I kind of see it that way too. I brought it at the beginning of the week when we talked about this whole thing. You get a team here. It sells out. UTSA's first few games, sellouts. Then they started losing, and then it kind of attendance went down. Hey, Jeff Traylor comes in. They start making bowl games. It's sellout. Then it's kind of go down. So it's like San Antonio supports everything when it first gets here, but you've got to have the support through the good times and the bad times. And I get it. People don't make a lot of money. I mean, it's a middle class, city.
Well, according to Jimenez, we're all poor. You guys are all poor.
Yeah, we're all poor. I'm poor. I mean, hell, actually, this isn't even my room. This is a background I found online, so I'm using it as a background.
Yeah, I get the feeling really like if you put a team in Seattle, they're going to support. They've supported the Mariners over the years, and they were not always good. So it's not just the initial part. This is a long term. You got to support this team. And look, I lived in Orlando for a while. As bad as the Magic have been, Rudy, they've had a lot of support over the years. Mm-hmm. Always top 10, top 15 in attendance in Orlando. The fans are still going, even though now obviously they have good young talent. And but yeah, it's the long game that these leagues are worried about in San Antonio.
And even the past few years, the San Antonio Spurs, their attendance was way down. Way down. And that's the thing that's concerning to a lot of people. This city is not sports knowledgeable. They don't know when to get involved in the games exactly. And that's the thing. It's not bashing the city, Gio. We're not bashing the city. We're not bashing sports fans all over. We just all are in agreement is that you've got to support in the best times. You've got to support in the worst times. If you're at 50,000 people on average, during championship runs, for any type of sporting event or whatever, you've got to be at 50,000 people attendance when it comes to mediocre times.
Yeah, well, y'all used to have the Stars. Why did they dissolve, Rudy? I forgot about that.
So the Stars, I can't really comment too much on. I mean, the attendance wasn't great for the Stars. And me personally, I went to a lot of Silver Star games. I mean, my mom loved to watch the Silver Stars play. My dad was a fan. I'm actually a pretty big fan of, female sports in general. I think, myself, even Derek Gerben will admit the fact that it's more of a structurally sound game. It's like, it's fundamentals at its best
Yeah.
is what I look at it as. And, I don't care.
Caitlin Clark has been, really, she's the next big thing. I mean, she's been, I think she's going to do fine. And the WNBA does have some, because really, I remember when the WNBA first started with the Comets, the Liberty, the Sparks. Really, it was pretty intense. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, I remember watching a lot of Comets games.
Those games were actually really, really good. And obviously, they went through a law. And then now the NBA basically gives them money. But look, the game is more structurally sound, and you see a lot more. It's a different, not necessarily college, but like college football, right? Like the reason why we love it is because the passion, right? Now it's obviously different because people are getting paid, but it's just, I forgot about the Stars. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we even had they had the San Antonio Iguanas for a long time. We had San Antonio Rampage, which they're both hockey teams. I mean, they're basically like not AAA, but maybe like AAA hockey is basically what it was. So they went to Vegas. I mean, the Stars went to Vegas, and then next thing you know, San Antonio Rampage would go to Vegas. They were bought out. They were not as obvious. Vegas bought them both, and they both moved them to Vegas. So
Indianapolis has actually the NBA or the MAD leagues come in the Indy area, and then we also have a minor league hockey team. So it's interesting that, man, San Antonio just can't catch a break.
And it's hard to explain it because, I mean, Tim is even mentioning a good point too. You've got UTSA, but before UTSA, everybody's a Longhorn fan. You're born and raised a Longhorn fan. You were born and raised and bred as an Aggie fan. I mean, there's so many fans you were before. So
Cougars, right?
Houston?
Yeah.
Cougars. Yeah, I mean,
right.
I guess you got a couple of Houston Cougar fans, not many. I mean, nobody likes Houston and San Antonio, Gio.
I'm just saying, I was just name dropping another university, not completely far off.
All right, we got to bring in the Rock, man, because he's going to love talking about this here. Rock, hey, what's up, Rock? Where have you been, man? You all right?
What's up? Yeah, man, I've been working, man. What's up with you?
Nothing much, dude. Nothing much, man. Just kind of chill. I'm gonna put you up here, Rock. I'm gonna go to the bottom here because you two guys are the stars. You two guys.
I need a haircut. I need a beard trim.
I need a haircut too, man. That's why I'm wearing a hat.
T-shirt Longhorns are Aggies fans. I mean, that's true. There are more Cowboy fans and Texan fans. I mean, honestly, I can truthfully say there's a lot of Cowboy fans in Texas. But when the Oilers were here, I knew of a lot of Oiler fans too. So. It's hard for San Antonio to catch that break, Gio, because you've already fans of another team. So if you bring an NFL team to San Antonio is going to be hyped. San Antonio is going to be like, yes, 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 yes. But are you going to turn your back on the Dallas Cowboys? Are you going to turn your back on the Texans? Are you going to turn your back on all that? You would, because obviously, you're the breed. Rock would never turn on his Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, people were hyped when the Brahmas were here, so I don't see why people, couldn't get into it. But I think I'm kind of guessing. Are y'all talking about like if a pro team came here? Is that like the context?
So
or no?
Basically, we were talking, how San Antonio doesn't support pro teams that come in, or even semi-pro teams. I mean, that's kind of rough because, mentioned the Geo, you get UTSA came in, hype, and then they had losing spells. So it's like, never mind. Jeff Traylor comes in, bowl games, hype. Then it's kind of like, okay, we're going to level off. Spurs, championship runs. I mean, everybody loved the championship runs. Everybody's hyped for it. Then you get the product after Tim Duncan, after Tony Parker, after Manu, after Kawhi, all these guys. Yeah, even they're into the DeMar and LaMarcus era, it was kind of just level. It wasn't, this much attendance. And that's what we're trying to say. In order to get more sports teams here, pro teams, you got to support.
I just think, growing up in San Antonio, like, and bleed the Spurs. So that's one pro team you already have. Having to like another pro team is kind of scary. I would make that assumption for, San Antonio fans in general, because, I mean, you've never seen something else other than the Spurs here. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know those fans wanted a football team here, but you have those people that are so deeply ingrained of rooting for the Cowboys and the Texans. It's going to be so hard to change. But I think eventually, the younger generation, even below me, they'll have the idea, okay, there's another pro team that's here that I can cheer for. The pro team, if they came here, is probably not going to do so hot. You're going to get those kind of just borderline good players, but not great players coming to your team. But eventually they'll pop off. I mean, I'm excited for the Brahmas to pop off, to come here, but that's still a stepping stone. It is hard to get people to go to the games.
I think baseball might make more. Well, then again, you have the Astros and then the Rangers. It's really y'all never get in the damn team.
That's the way I feel. I feel like we might. I mean, even if you bring in MLS, you have SAFC. If you bring in an MLB team, you have the San Antonio Missions. So
hockey could be the one that maybe could be the one.
Hockey was pretty damn big here, surprisingly. It was actually really good here. And towards the end of the last couple of years of the Rampage, I attended a bunch of games. And they had pretty decent crowds, man. I mean, they were popping left and right at the Rampage games. So I wouldn't mind see hockey back in San Antonio, but another pro team, I think, okay, safe to say for you guys, it's safe to say when we're talking about professional teams, not semi-pro and not, double A, triple A type teams. We're talking true professional teams, major sports. It's safe to say that we're probably never going to get one, ever.
I think the only one that reasonably was be MLS down the line.
But you've got it in Austin. That's the problem.
Yeah, it just depends on how SAFC keeps doing in these coming years. But I just don't think, like you said, a baseball pro team wouldn't come here because I mean, one thing about San Antonio too is like these people have the mindset of who's going to pay for it. That's what's going on right now with the whole downtown arena thing. People are thinking, well, who's going to pay for it? Why do they need another arena?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's gonna come back on the taxpayers, and Gio's not gonna pay because Gio don't live here yet. So.
You're damn right, I'm not.
We should bill Gio for half of this stuff, man.
Dude, look, I think the only thing is probably soccer, as Rock said, and maybe hockey. I think. I mean, obviously the Dallas Stars are there, but
is it safe to say, like I said, I don't think we're ever gonna see another pro team here. I mean, if you're going to scale 1 to 10, 10 being guaranteed no pro team outside of the Spurs, and I'm not talking, like I said, semi-pro. I mean, we have the Brahmas, we have this thing, we have everything like that. I'm talking just straight pro team, NFL, MLB, NHL. Is it safe to say that we would never see that on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the most? Where would you rank it?
Probably.
Hard to say, isn't it?
I mean, how about a professional rugby team, Rudy? How about cricket?
Jesus Christ, man.
No, but I mean, if I had a grade, Rudy, I'd probably say around like a 6. Staying on the optimistic side with the soccer thing. But the one thing is going back to what I said, like San Antonio doesn't have the money. San Antonio is such a big city, but we don't have the money to pay for it. It's not popular. This is a family city. You're not having all these tech companies come here. That's why you see a lot of people are trying to improve downtown to get people to come here. Compared to like in Austin, they can get a pro team. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean,
I don't think we ever see a pro team in Austin outside of MLS. I mean, I doubt you ever. I don't think you see a pro team. You know why? Because the Longhorns dominate Austin. There's nobody that's going to come in and take over, when it comes to a pro team in Austin. I just think that it's not small-minded, San Antonio. It's not small thinking. It's not that we're uneducated. It's nothing like that. It's not even that we're poor. I mean, it's not that we're poor. We're a middle of the pack city when it comes to income. I mean, we're not a poor city by all means, but it just comes back to participation and attendance from fans. I mean, you get so hyped. I mean, the NFL can say, "Hey, we're San Antonio. You're getting a team, sweet." But what happens when that team is 0-8, 0-9?
Or you blow a 28-3 lead,
Screw you, man.
Right?
Screw you.
But
you know what? Say they're 0-9. And then when it comes to, okay, where's the support? Attendance is 58,000 for the first, 4 home games. 5th home game comes, attendance is down to 34,000. Then we're averaging 30,000 only at an NFL game. Then it comes, you know what it comes to, Rock? It comes back to like everything else with the Spurs stuff. The tickets are too priced. They're too high. They're too much. I can't afford that. You cannot afford NFL. Jesus, man, Gio, you've been to NFL games. I've priced NFL games for sitting in the absolute top of the stadium or the dome or wherever they're going to play. You're still paying $100, $100 something dollars.
Yeah, I mean,
easily for that.
Yeah, you're paying a good amount of money to sit there with a family of 4. You're looking at, if you want to sit at, and we're talking about decent, definitely $400, $500 plus food. That stuff racks up. Parking.
I mean, it's when you're talking about we need to have so many season tickets sold for this. Not many. Honestly, there was people already posting on social media that they're going to decline their season tickets for the Spurs next year because they went up in price. And the reason why they went up in price is because you have Victor Wembanyama here. So they're taking advantage of it.
But the thing is, Rudy, too, I think Victor here is going to be the key because with his, popularity around the road, I think if, the way he's going on, based on his trajectory, let's say, ends up at in a couple years as a top 10 player, top 5, let's just say that hypothetically, I just feel like his popularity is going to bring, boost that San Antonio economy to convince people to maybe build a downtown arena to get those pro teams attracted to here. So I think it's just going to come down to the Spurs, what they can do and seeing how fast they can accelerate their wins. Because you're right, look at how Tim Gonzalez had said, the WNBA had their only attendance increase when the WNBA finals. Look at UTSA. UTSA had a population of attendance of 50,000, in those big games, and they start losing. Now it's back to 20.
It goes back to support, man. I mean, if you support it, great. But even those shows, it proves San Antonio. Let's be real. The XFL, I mean, that was probably very successful because, you're talking about there was other teams, not all of them, but some teams in cities where they knew attendance wasn't going to be the great in those XFL cities. And San Antonio showed up as a lot. The ticket prices weren't bad for those games. You can support an XFL team. Yeah. Imagine triple, quadruple the price for an NFL team.
Well, Rudy, the Bears, right, who have been mediocre at best, they sell one of the highest ticket per average in the league, Rudy, and they haven't been winning. And their tickets are always high for a crappy-ass stadium. It's just...
I have a question, though, for both y'all. If y'all remember, how was the attendance like when the Saints came here to the Dome?
Sold out.
Sold out. Was it sold out?
I went to the Falcons Saints game, and, it was sold out. It was packed. But, that's kind of I get where you're coming out on that because it shows, okay, San Antonio supported 2 teams. But then look at the bigger picture. We got 2 NFL games. So you had something you never would have ever, if not for, an American disaster happening, and the hurricane happening. So you get the Saints here for a couple of games.
I think the only thing that may help is if a team moves.
That's what I was going to say.
That would be
probably more ideal.
If a team wanted to move to San Antonio, do y'all think that's the only way San Antonio can get a team?
But then, yes, the only way San Antonio gets a team, any sports team, is by them relocating. That to me, that's it.
Because if the Saints move to San Antonio, that would be pretty good, seeing that the Saints are not too far, right? Geography would. I think a lot of fans would attend. But yeah, I know for a while the Raiders, right, that was floating around for a bit. Yeah, you would need a team to move.
But that's the part that if I'm leadership, I'm pissed off because my city keeps getting used as that pawn. Oakland, the Oakland Athletics. You keep getting used as a pawn, and it's kind of like, you know what? What did Will Smith say? Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. Keep my city's name out of your mouth. If you want to bring something here, bring it here. Quit using my city as a scapegoat to move it somewhere else.
Where do you think, guys, if the NFL expands, where are they going next?
International for sure. They're already talking about going to Europe for a team.
That'd be interesting. How there's a lot of logistics. I think if the NFL does expand, Canada would be interesting for another team or for a team actually. Seeing that the Bills are not actually, they're pretty much near Canada. St. Louis wants another team, Rudy.
St. Louis, to me,
you can say Mexico also.
Well, yeah. To me, it's going to be if the NFL expands to more teams, which obviously, how many teams do they expand to? I mean, you can't go just one team. It would probably have to be 4, ideally. I mean,
I think Portland would be a good spot for a team.
Portland, maybe would be good for another team. I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard because you can make a case for St. Louis. I think St. Louis would be 1, and then after that, it's international, whether it be Canada, Mexico, or overseas, which they're already talking. I mean, you have NFL Europe already, where they take games overseas. So I think that's where. And it's not like you're like, oh, well, you know, it's going to be hard traveling. I mean, no, the teams will travel Monday, get there, you know, that same day, basically, and you have practice all week. You come back, you give them a bye on the week back. So it should be okay. It'll work out in itself, I think.
I just wonder if they did that, how it would affect the athletes, or if they would support it. Because, I mean, you already have some athletes in the past talking about how when they play on a Monday night, then they have to play a Sunday, that short turnaround, their bodies are still affected. So I wonder if athletes won't support it because of jet lag, but then you do make sense of the bye. So
yeah, but obviously, the teams from Europe coming to
I
mean that like if you're in Germany and you're going to Seattle for a game, it's just, I don't know, Brady. To me, there seems to be a lot of, I think Mexico first or Canada, I think makes more sense, and then we could.
And that's why I said it would be St. Louis, then either Canada or Mexico, and then Europe. I mean, they do want to go to Europe. I mean, hell, even the NBA is talking about picking a team in Europe. I mean, maybe was it China? I think they said they wanted to expand to get a team out there. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, to be honest with you, they can.
That meme, Rudy. Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy.
Hey, this is Sweep the League, man. We are talking about expansion in San Antonio. We talked about the arena. I know Gio's going to be here for just a little while longer, but I want to get to this topic with Gio. We got 2 big topics happening. We've got the NFL salary cap. You know, they just announced that the salary cap is going to be it's going to be bigger. I mean, they're going to add, you can have more cap space for teams. So basically, I'm going to bring the graphic up here. This is what we're showing now. The Commanders would have, with the new estimated cap, you're talking about the Commanders having the most at $87 million. That, to me, that's amazing, dude. I mean, the new coaching staff there, they can do a whole lot with that kind of cap space. The Patriots at 82, the Bears at 80. Those 3 teams.
Who's number 11, Rudy?
Number 11 would be the Rams. Yes, the Rams. Definitely the Rams. And who cares about number 11? I don't care. Sure.
Where the Cowboys at?
On the Cowboys, I've got to scroll down because they are in the negative. They are over 8.2 million.
Hey, Jerry wants to make a big splash.
But Derrick Henry right there, 8.2 million a year.
That's kind of where I'm getting at here. I hate talking Cowboy stuff, but
the Saints are always at the bottom.
Well, yeah, even the Buffalo's trying to re-sign Stephon Diggs, and it ain't happening. I don't think Stephon's going to be there. He's going to be moved. Then you're talking about the Cowboys. They're over 8.2 million. You keep making the comment, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, yada, yada. Then you hear, Dak's going to rewrite, the contract situation when it comes to restart the whole Cowboy thing. At 16 million, dude, there is no legit way Jerry is going to get a Saquon or a Derrick Henry, re-sign Dak Prescott, plus take care of the offensive line that he's going to have to take care of, then have to have money, Gio, to pay for Micah Parsons, Diggs. I mean,
look,
where the hell? And CeeDee Lamb.
They need to restructure some contracts, right? Get rid of some of these players. And obviously, look, these contracts are from year to year. So, right, just playing around with the cap numbers. Look, Les Snead has done it with the Rams a lot. Just kind of figure out where you can push. What are you going to upload a contract? Are you going to backload a contract? I think the Cowboys can do all that. I still think they can get someone there, but right now it's not looking great because look, CD's going to get paid, right?
Well, yeah,
Micah Parsons. You have other guys there that also are probably up. It's going to be tough. It's doable, but it's going to be very, very tough. Who are they going to want to pay and who they want to let go? So
there's so many. Like, I think Cowboy fans need to realize that this offseason is going to be pretty damn hard for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you're going to pay Dak all that money. You're not going to free up any money to go beyond Tony Pollard. I mean,
well, look, they can pay a lot of that money up front, potentially a signing bonus, which I think the signing bonus doesn't count against the cap, if I'm not mistaken, I believe. So there are ways, Rudy, but nonetheless, you're right. It's going to be difficult. A lot of guys want to get paid, and you still got that lame duck head coach there. So,
yeah. This is who I circled right here. The Houston Texans. They're going to have $67.6 million coming off of a playoff appearance, and you already know what you're getting with Houston. So imagine the moves they could make in Houston to shore up that team and to surround CJ on both sides of the ball. I mean, that's one of the teams, and right below them, Gio, is my Super Bowl favorite again next year, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
a lot of these
5 too.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals are going to have 72. Now, again, they're going to have to go out and they're going to actually, I think, franchise tag T. Higgins. But the Bengals
isn't Chase going to be up for a?
He's going to be up for a contract here pretty soon. Though, out of those 10 teams, Gio, right outside the Rams. I mean, yes, I'll give you the Rams at 11. But those 10 teams are in prime spots to make some instant impacts in the offseason.
You're right, Rudy. But remember, what do you get? Just because you got money, Rudy, doesn't mean you're going to use it for good taste. And there's been a lot of teams, Rudy, over the years who've had money, and guess what? Terrible. Players that got their money, right? And then, I'm not going to play as hard. So, yes, a lot of teams have a lot of money, Rudy, but let's see what they do with that money, and let's see what the players do. But I'm loving the Rams. We finally got some freaking money after all that dead cap we had last year with all these guys getting released and traded. And we finally have a first-round draft pick, Rudy, and multiple, I think, thirds because of the minority pick from Raheem Morris, your boy. So I'm happy. But from that top 10, Rudy, the Texans and the Lions, I mean, look, the Lions were already good last year along with the Texans. So the sky's the limit.
Oh, 100%, man. 100%. Sky's the limit for a lot of these teams. We're going to get into more NFL salary cap talk here next week for sure. Real quick, Gio, I know we got to go to a commercial break here, but I'm going to get into talk with the Rams about with the Rock here about LeBron as well. But also, we're going to talk about Locked On Spurs, asking this question about the arena. I'll talk to Rock here about it on the flip side. Before we go to commercial break, the whole LeBron James thing to the Detroit Pistons. Now, back in the day with the Bad Boys, my wife actually brought that up to me and said, how good will LeBron be on the Bad Boys team? I'm going to give you the floor here, then we're going to go to commercial break. Give me your breakdown. How good would that Bad Boys team be with LeBron on it?
Pretty good. I mean, if you just take his skill set, put it into the 80s and 90s, I think it translates pretty well. I mean, look, I know people have to call LeBron soft and all that stuff, but with that body, and obviously he got that body, that more thicker kind of build when he was with Miami, but nonetheless, I think he would play very well. I think he would be a guy who can, I mean, look, you can be physical with someone, tip-ins, dunks. He doesn't shoot particularly the three well, but he wouldn't have to during that time. Really, I think he would mesh really well. And he's going to have to take some of that personality of that Pistons team, right? Really rough and rugged and hard fouls. I think he'll do well.
There you go. Hey, on the flip side, Rock and I are going to get into some more LeBron talk here about this is our Flashback Friday episode where we talk about, players in NFL, NBA, maybe taking them back in time, seeing how they would fare on some of these teams here. This is LeBron James talking about going on the Bad Boys team. We're going to get into Locked On Spurs question here. This is Sweep the League. Again, we're all part of the Alamo City Podcast Network here on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. We're here from you from 2 to 3:30. Coach Gio, we will see you next week, man. You have a great weekend. It's going to be the Rock and I on the flip side.
All right, see you, everyone.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnSpurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, just definitely go follow Jeff on X. I always say Twitter Rock, but it's on X. It's at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Great follow, Locked On Spurs, all part of the Locked On Network. You can go to YouTube, find Locked On Spurs there. I've been a guest many times on there. So that is Jeff G. But we're going to get into a comment that Jeff actually left for us from the Locked On Spurs here. It says, Rudy, circling back to the SAS San Antonio Spurs new arena, you think ticket prices will shoot through the roof, food prices too? Will a move downtown price out most of San Antonio? That's kind of where I'm feeling is one of the concerns. Again, we're not New York. We're not, Los Angeles. We're not any of these places where our income is huge. We're middle of the pack, is like I'm saying. So I think they would have to price the tickets right, Rock. I think the food prices would have to be right. But let's be real. If they're going up in price already next year, and you're talking still at the Frost Bank Center, can you imagine the prices for a downtown location? I think I'm going to say yeah. I mean, they might price out a little bit of these people when it comes to them going to games, which does affect attendance, man.
No, definitely. But I think the way that they'll be able to, get that attendance is, that popularity that if they, let's say hypothetically, they build a district, how I've been seeing a lot of people. So they have the Frostbank Center here, the whole district, and then they had an MLB stadium from some, renderings that people created. I think eventually, those people are going to want to come to San Antonio and flock downtown, and with UTSA, trying to emphasize on bringing people downtown in the city. I think that attendance will stay there, but it's just going to suck because you're going to lose those diehard fans who, sit up in the upper deck cheering for the Spurs nonstop with their heart, but you might lose those people as well.
Yeah, you were. I mean, that's the problem is that you don't have any idea exactly how this is going to work. I mean, you're talking about a downtown location. Prices are going to go up. I mean, it's especially in a new arena. I mean, prime location. Do they basically get priced out? I don't know, man. I mean, I want to say yes. It's going to be very expensive. I know one person that's going to apparently cancel their season tickets for next year. I'm probably sure a bunch of people are going to follow suit. Does that mean that they'll bring the prices back down? I have no idea, man. But again, if you want to jack up the prices, you've got to put a better product on the court. And I'm not saying that they don't have the players. I mean, everybody's in love with Victor. Everybody's in love with Devin. The team is what it is. But when you're, sitting at 11 and, 40 or whatever the record is right now, I mean, it's not a good dish. Not everybody is dying to go to a Spurs game. So you almost have to look at the prices like, okay, this is the prices where it's going to be. This is where we need to be. Can we get to this point? Yeah. Well, how do we get to this point? Bring in, this much talent. Let's get, let's start off the season really good. It's winning cures all, basically is what it is. If you're winning, everything is perfect, man.
No. And I see Jeff's comment, talking about Hemisphere Park, and I've seen that, when I would be walking to the UTSA games from Southtown, you see it getting built. And even in the area where I am, I'm downtown. I'm over here by Josephine and St. Mary's, and I see it getting built. There's the area apartments I am, they're trying to build a little district. And downtown they're trying to make downtown more popular. And I'm all for it, but it's just, people are always going to get affected whether they do it or not.
But you can't rely on the downtown district to support the NBA, the Spurs, to support the franchise. I mean, it's going to be, I think what it is, it's going to be a lot of corporate dollars. Like you're going to have a lot of corporations come in and say, hey, we're buying all the suites. We're buying, the suites are gone. We're going to buy X number of tickets, give them away to our employees. It's going to be a lot of corporate dollars coming in and out to where that's the way I see it to be successful. People are still going to go to the games, especially if it's downtown. They're going to go to the games, but will you go to more games than not? I mean, where you may go to 5 games a year, knowing it's downtown now, again, brings up the prices. Maybe you can only afford 2 games. Maybe you can only afford 3 games. And last but not least, I went on Ticketmaster. I'm surprised. This is how random it is. I went on Ticketmaster, and I didn't know you could like Klarna and Afterpay tickets now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the new thing. As I think I saw Candace tweet it. She said Klarna is a new millennial layaway, and I have to agree.
If everybody knows, man, I corner the crap out of a lot of my shoes.
Oh
and
yeah, I mean,
stuff,
I
man.
don't mind doing it. I'll admit it.
Well, you can do it on Ticketmaster now. It makes me think, okay, possibly the new era will help
Yeah.
get some people to more games, but nonetheless, man. I mean, Jeff, the thing is, it's going to get expensive. I think.
But the thing is too, Rudy, is like the way they're going to be able to attract people for attendance is what they build around. And I think it's going to be beneficial too. If you look at it, those small businesses that are downtown, they may see more foot traffic down that way. I
Mhm.
feel like that'd be beneficial. You know, we look at bars and other areas. I think if it gets too high, the fans are going to start canceling more. They're going to realize that, like you said, they're going to have to set a standard to it. But it also depends on what product they're having on the court. You know, I love all the guys on the team, this and that, but it's obvious you need a Robin for a Wemby. You know, so it's just going to depend on how they're going to do. You know, next coming seasons too.
Yeah, for sure. This is The Rock. That's Rudy Copper Studio. Sweep the League comes here every single Monday through Friday, 2 to 3:30. Coach Gio will be back on Monday. We've got him for the first hour when it comes to Sweep the League now. So when we left for commercial break, Rock, Tim, it depends on ticket prices. When we left for commercial break, we were talking about Flashback Friday, having LeBron basically part of the Bad Boy squad. And it came up because my wife and I were driving vacation yesterday for a day trip, and it was like, hey, how would LeBron fare on the Bad Boys? And I'm driving like, man, I don't know if that would work. Then stop and think. I think, yeah, it could, because his game, prime LeBron's game, obviously would translate really well back then in that era. You can say, well, he's not tough. He's, he cries a lot, yada, yada. But if you put him with the Bad Boys team, he doesn't have to be tough. You have Lambert, you have Mahorn. I mean, you have a lot of guys that would stick up for him. If you mess with him, you have a lot of guys that would stick up for him. So that's one key. The other key is he wouldn't have to be the man there. I mean, you're talking Isaiah Thomas is going to lead that team, which I think makes it easier for LeBron. I'm crazy to say this, but I even think that the Pistons probably are the dynasty before the Bulls, if that happens.
Oh yeah, no, 1,000%. But because just imagine, as much as people say LeBron isn't tough, he's still a freight train, in his prime, coming down court. I don't understand how anyone would stop him back then. I mean, I understand they'd be physical, but like, I agree with you. They would be, getting his back the whole time. But if time travel or whenever time travel becomes real, and if we can make that happen, Rudy, imagine LeBron versus Jordan. You just see them going one-on-one against each other. I think eventually
be able to resolve all of these.
Yeah, no, we would resolve everything, but it would be amazing just to watch that. But I think it would easily work. LeBron, in my sense, would work in any era. As much as people want to debate MJ and LeBron, who's better, this and that, they're both great in their own way. It would be interesting to watch them.
Well, yeah, it's a debatable era, is what it is. You have the greatest players in every era. Before MJ, you're talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, before Jabbar, you're talking Will Chamberlain and Bill Russell. I mean, you have different eras are going to produce different goats of the game. So I think it's just a whole thing about what era they're playing in. Rodman and LeBron. See, that's what I'm saying. You'd have Joe Dumars, Isaiah Thomas, LeBron James, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, Mark Aguirre, James Edwards, John Sally. I mean, man, that team would definitely squash probably Chicago easily. They would definitely squash probably the Celtics. I mean, you'd have a LeBron Bird battle in those types of playoff series. So that would be a fun series to go through. LeBron playing against Mike, prime versus prime. I mean, that, to me, that puts Detroit in the category of dynasty before the Bulls easily. And would it work? Man, I think that would be a pretty cool thing to see him with the Bad Boys. Like I said, he doesn't have to be tough. And the other day we talked about Stephen Curry. Even with in the old school days, I was very skeptical about Steph, playing back then, but I was told that he wouldn't average 30, he would average 20. But then we talked about maybe him going to playing in Golden State with Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway and Mitch Richmond and those guys. I kind of love talking about, all this right here, but I gotta take, man, let's not even time travel back, Rock. Let's do another flashback here. So with this current Cowboys squad right now, as assembled, the same team they had last year, I started to mention, what if you fast forward the clock and brought a prime Dan Marino to the Dallas Cowboys? Would you probably see a dominance like the Kansas City Chiefs type that
Easily,
they're
man.
going through? I mean, they're a quarterback away from probably being that team. And I think, man, I started thinking, who would I put? I mean, I thought maybe John Elway, maybe, but then I thought, you know what? No, Dan Marino, given with the receiving core he has, how would that work out for the Dallas Cowboys?
I would be talking about how nice my Super Bowl hat is, Rudy.
How many Super Bowls do you think they have?
I mean, they would be
5 years. 5 years of Dan Marino.
5 years of Dan Marino, I'd probably give 2 or 3.
2 or 3 Super Bowls in that time?
Yeah.
See, that's a really good one on Locked On by Locked On. What happens if Barry Sanders is running back on the Cowboys dynasty era with Aikman and Irving? I don't know if they win more Super Bowl titles with Barry, but I mean, easily Barry, I think, has a rushing record that never gets beat. If you're talking about Emmett and Barry Sanders, Barry's the better runner. Give Barry that offensive line. I mean, you got to think Barry put up numbers with a decent offensive line. If you give him a stout offensive line like the Cowboys had in the dynasty era, yeesh, I mean, you're talking about records that probably wouldn't be broken.
No one's touching him after his first contact.
No, I mean, definitely not. I mean, the amount of runs that Emmitt Smith had, I mean, Barry would get those and some when it comes to yardage. So I think Barry on that dynasty Cowboys team, I don't think it translates to more Super Bowl wins. I mean, you're going to get the same amount of Super Bowl wins when it comes to the dynasty era for the Cowboys and Barry Sanders. I just think you see more stats put up when it comes to Barry as far as rushing goes. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Because you're the Cowboy fan. I'm not.
No, 100%. I mean, they would still be winning titles, but I would see, more of an explosive offense with Barry. I mean, this guy's arguably the greatest athlete of all time. I mean, it'd be crazy just to watch it. I wasn't born during those days, Rudy, so I never got to really see beside VHS. But
you have YouTube. Why don't you YouTube?
I mean, YouTube, yeah, but I wish I was born during those days. I mean, I have to suffer all the time watching the Cowboys.
Man, I keep forgetting that you probably are the youngest guy on here. So, I mean, thinking about those days, Rock. I mean, I was able to watch Barry Sanders. I was able to watch Dan Marino, John Elway, a lot of these guys. I was alive, obviously, through the Cowboys era. I mean, I was in high school during the Cowboy days and when they were winning that during that dynasty. I mean, you probably would never have expected the Houston Oilers with Warren Moon and Ernest Givens and Haywood Jeffries, that whole receiving core. I think Curtis Duncan or Chris Duncan, I can't remember who it was another one. I mean, that receiving core that was fire with Warren Moon. You had Lorenzo Wright in the backfield. I mean, you had a lot of guys in the backfield for the Houston Oilers. One guy you need to look up that never gets love. He played for Seattle. That's Steve Largent. He was a wide receiver. I remember growing up watching him play and just like, man, this guy can do it all. And he wasn't even, he's no Calvin Johnson, he's nothing like that. He was just a guy that got it done, just straight up a beast, which was Steve Largent. I mean, there's so many guys. Think about the Cleveland Browns, dude. I mean, I can go stories about Cleveland Browns with Bernie Kosar, Ernest Biner. Webster Slaughter was another wide receiver there. I mean, they just had a lot of talent in the NFL. But again, it's like the NBA. You had so much talent on one team. It was almost like they were a stacked team, but they were drafted or, they made a one free agent move. So I have to say, man, if you had a time machine, definitely go back to the 80s and 90s and watch sports then. You definitely would love it.
I want to go back to the 80s and 90s just to get their clothes, man, because I always loved the throwback clothes.
What is that? what kind of jacket was it? The starter jackets back then? I think the
Yeah,
starter
dude.
jackets.
Those starter jackets are so nice, and they're so expensive if you try to buy them from a reseller now.
How much do they go for? Because I had a
Easily like
Spurs. I had a
easily
Spurs starter.
easily $200 to $300 now.
For a starter's jacket?
Mm-hmm.
See, back then there was the members only jacket that I know now these days the original members only jackets they're expensive. I know that for a fact. They are pretty damn expensive, the members only. But what other clothes back then was there around? I know starter jackets. Growing up for me, you were saying parachute. I'm pretty sure you're gonna say parachute.
Parachute pants.
But so you're talking like MC Hammer parachute pants?
Oh, those, and then I don't know. I mean, some of the t-shirts in general are so much better quality. I like the hats, like the snapbacks in a sense, like those are so much better quality also. But just the shirts are always so iconic. I always like trying to look for vintage stuff, and then like just seeing that it, like especially the sports memorabilia, it's so much more nicer.
Yeah, one thing that I wore that I will openly admit was I used to wear Jinko pants. I don't know if you ever remember Jinko, no?
Mhm.
So Jinko pants, you know what? I'm going to try to bring a picture up of it because you would probably be like, what in the hell? But Jinko pants were probably, man, they were so popular back then. They're the skater pants is what they were. And I'm coming up to it now. I mean, yeah, I can share this. I think this is.
I wonder if Jeff wore Jinko pants.
I don't know if Jeff did, but I mean, Jinko was the style back then, bro. I mean, you had a pair of Jinko pants. You were like, I think my brother owned probably like 5 pairs of Jinko pants. Let me see if I can share this screen. Yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, look at those. I mean, they were
what the hell are
those? I mean, they're technically, I guess, like parachute pants, but I mean, the bottom of the pants was so freaking, they were so huge, dude. I mean, those were so massive pants, and I had a couple of pair, and even Jeff's chiming in on here. I mean, yeah, dude, Jinko, more solo server regular pants, basically. Yeah, I mean, I love Jinko pants. Those were I think I'm gonna get you a pair, man. I know you like wearing the shorts that go all the way to your thighs, but I mean, I'm gonna try to get you a pair of Jinko pants. But even now, Rock, they cost like probably $100, $120 a pair. So I know I can't afford that. $10. I remember those days. It was Jinko pants, Jerbo jeans was huge back then. You had to have a pair of Jerbos. Man, what Drakkar was the cologne that people were wearing. I remember Drakkar was one of them. Oh man, I don't remember. Was it the Lacoste, the alligator shirt? I think it was Lacoste was the popular one. Man, Rock, you need to go back to that era, dude. I'm telling you, that era is amazing.
One big thing is I want to go back to the eras because I know there's no phones, so it was just like you just did what you did.
You read the paper. You'd be reading Jeff Garcia writing the article for the Express News, and I'll buy you lunch. Can you name me, without looking it up, the other newspaper in San Antonio at the time of the Express News?
San Antonio Light.
There you go. I owe you lunch somehow. I will get you your lunch. San Antonio Light. Back when they had 2 papers in San Antonio, man. Before all the hoopla of everything. Gotta miss solo serve. We always skated in Dickies, and Jinkos were not practical when skating for me. See, Jinkos was a style. It was like you had to just have that style. And I think I had one pair I know. They were a pair of black ones, and my brother had a pair of black, dark blue. I mean, the regular denim. I mean, Jinkos was that style that everybody loved. Tim Gonzalez in here wants a flashback Friday. What if Duncan left the Spurs, joined the Magic with Grant Hill and T-Mac? And that was a guarantee to happen. I mean, let's not be real. Timmy was gone. There was no stopping him. Timmy was gone. His stuff was packed. The movers were at his house, and he was bolting for Orlando until, Doc Rivers at the time made a mistake and said no family can travel with the team.
Still making mistakes, man.
Even to this day, Doc Rivers is still making mistakes left and right, man.
Did you see Doc Rivers' comment when they kind of asked him about the initial hire? He was like, I don't know how I landed this job. And I'm like, dude, come on. You know how you landed this job.
Well, it's kind of weird because they didn't need a head coach. I mean, like they were a bad team. So I don't know. That whole situation was kind of weird. But with Doc saying no family allowed on the team plane. Whew. Jeff brings
Jeff's
up
comment.
the point that I was going to make. Without Timmy, I don't know if San Antonio survives in San Antonio. The Spurs survive in San Antonio.
There might not be rings, man.
Well, no, there's no rings.
Yeah, no rings and no Greg Popovich.
I mean, okay, so you have a ring, obviously. I mean, they won in the 99. But do the Spurs still stay in San Antonio? I don't know, because you already have the draft rights to Manu. You could bring Manu, but Manu doesn't transition to rings. You're never drafting Tony Parker.
So since I wasn't super into the Spurs, but when this was happening with Orlando, from your memory, when everyone thought Tim was bolting to Orlando, who were the Spurs targeting in free agency or trying to trade for?
Dude, that's something I'd have to actually look up. I couldn't remember. Maybe Jeff would remember offhand.
Jeff maybe know.
I mean, there was a point that I know. I mean, they were dabbling, if I'm not mistaken, they were still dabbling with Grant Hill as a possibility to team up with Timmy. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, you still had David Robinson in his contract. I mean, you still had a lot of stuff going for them, but David would have been here another couple of years. I mean, again, they would survive, but they wouldn't survive the long term. I mean, I think within time, probably the Spurs end up leaving because you're not winning. You're not making any money as a franchise. You'd have to, but then you flick the whole spectrum around. If you're not winning, you start getting draft picks. You start getting lottery picks. So does it turn into, a franchise player? I'm not saying they land LeBron James, because that kind of was that was kind of fixed from the beginning, that whole lottery. I mean, Cleveland winning the lottery to get Cleveland's, basketball son prodigy, basically. It was kind of a gimme that Cleveland was going to win this year. That year.
Now, Rudy, staying with the throwback, if you put Wemby on with Timmy and David in their prime, what does that team look like?
Wembayama with Tim and David? That's a very tall team, but who goes to the bench?
I don't know. I mean, unless he comes off the bench, I don't know. Wemby.
Man, I might get flack for saying this because a lot of people are, these days type stuff and all that. I would say probably Wemby comes off the bench. I would probably be starting David and Tim over Wembanyama. But again, what era? I mean, are we talking now? Are we talking back then? I mean, if you go back in the day, I'm probably playing. Oh God, Rock, you're an a-hole for asking me this. I'm probably still doing Timmy and Dave, and if you go to this era, I'm probably doing Tim and Wemby, possibly. But Dave would dominate in this era of basketball.
Oh, 1,000%.
I mean, out of the three, Timmy would be the slowest. Are we saying possibly the slowest Timmy? So that's tough, man. I don't know. That's a good question. You know what? That's a question I'm going to bring up to Derek when we have him on the show next week. Tim, Jeff is saying this era, D-Rob and Wemby. Yeah. I think TD would be on the bench because I made the comment a little while ago, he's the slowest of the three. So it would make more sense to probably move him to the bench. But man, benching Tim Duncan, probably the best player in Spurs history, and saying that you would have to come off the bench. I don't know if he would be as gracious as Manu coming off the bench, but then nonetheless, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think that would be good. TD rocking the jeans. He did. Tim Duncan wears Jinkos, Rock. I don't see why you haven't grabbed yourself a pair.
The reason I don't like baggy jeans, Rudy, is because I'm short, man. I mean,
it doesn't.
I don't want to look shorter, Rudy.
Dude, really, you're not that short. That's much shorter than me. I'm short, so I mean, and I used to wear all that. So was D-Rob the better three shot shooter, the best 3-point shooter, the three? No, I think Wemby is still probably better than Robinson. Definitely Duncan's last. I mean, Duncan's not the best 3-point shooter of the three. We never saw Robinson shoot very many threes, so it's kind of hard to say how good of a 3-point shooter Devin Robinson was, but David was pretty consistent from the outside. He did shoot a few threes. He made a few of them too. But I think when it comes to shooting, Wemby so far probably is the better shooter, even from outside beyond the arc. I mean, I think probably I would say probably D-Rob is probably second in my opinion when it comes to 3-point shooting. Wemby on the Spurs 93 team. I mean, I don't know, man. I think Wemby on any of those teams back in the day would probably be – I think they would be legit. I think you're talking about a legit team. Again, the type of talent that Wemby has is a talent that you hadn't seen back in the day. You can maybe compare him to Olajuwon, possibly. I mean, with his skill set. Not as quick as Olajuwon, as Dream, but definitely could be as dominant as Olajuwon. He could definitely take guys like Patrick Ewing and those guys out of the paint, so it'd make it a little bit tougher because they're more down in guys. So I don't know, man. I think Wemby on the 93 Spurs team, that would definitely be a super fit. Give me your all-time 5, Rock. I mean, would Wemby make your all-time 5 on the Spurs now? I mean, apparently he's making everybody's all-time 5 in some cases.
I don't think yet. I think he'll be on my bench to start off. I got to still see him go. You and I know I'm a big Wemby homer. I love the guy. It's just crazy to see what he does. But I think to see him, gradually get better in time and, just get more used to the game, I'll probably eventually put him on the all-time with his trajectory. But as of right now, all-time, you have excuse me, you have Timmy, David, George, Tony, and damn, why can't I think of shooting guard? I would say Manu, I guess.
Man, you're way off, bro. You're way off.
I'm trying to think.
No, it's your 5. It's your 5. I mean,
no, we talked about this before, but I think I put someone else. I mean, I know a lot of people used to have Kawhi on their all-time 5, but
I would. I mean, if I'm building a starting 5 of all-time Spurs, I'm definitely doing Tony and George in the backcourt, Kawhi, David, and Tim. I think that's my all-time 5. Manu coming off the bench, obviously Wemby coming off the bench, but I think my all-time 5.
Off the bench?
Manu, Wemby, and Alvin Robertson off the bench, and I'm a big Alvin Robertson guy. But I think if you're talking all-time 5, it would be Tony, George, Kawhi, Manu. I mean, not Manu, David, and Tim are my 5 that I would go with 100%. Vegas should buy the Spurs. Maybe so. I mean, they have a little bit of money in Vegas. They could buy the Spurs, move them to Las Vegas. Who dominates more in today's era? Dream versus D-Rob. Man, Dream. I think Dream dominates more. I think David averages probably 27, maybe 28, and definitely around 13, 14 boards a game. Definitely right around 2 blocks a game. David would dominate, but the more impactful, the more dominant, I think Dream. Dream was more consistent from the outside, shooting-wise. Had more post moves than Dave. The only thing I feel is that Dave was so quick, and Dave was probably a better – not a defender on the glass, but a better perimeter defender than Dream would be. So, all in all, they both would succeed. I think I would probably put Dream ahead of Dave in this era. What do you think, Rob?
I'd put Dream as well, man. I mean, I love D-Rob, but Dream's game was crazy. I mean, in this era too, especially, you have those rare big men that certain teams have that just dominate the game. He would be one of them. I mean, they both would be one of them, but it would be awesome to see him go against the likes of Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic. But even then, people would pay their whole retirement savings to see Wemby versus the Dream. I mean, just that length going at it, that would be a game just to watch.
It's the closest you're going to see to Dream in this era right now with Wemby. I mean, Joel Embiid and Dream have identical games, but I think what Wemby was probably going to do is probably excel a little bit higher than what Joel's doing as far as skill-wise. I think you can probably see a little bit. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. Jeff saying he would put Alvin in the starting 5 over Claw. That's a tough one for me because I would probably put Alvin up there too. I like Alvin Robertson. He's definitely, he definitely makes a case for if you're talking about guys that are had most of their career with the Spurs. I mean, Alvin definitely is up there as well. But I think Kawhi I mean, 2 finals MVPs. I know he only had one with the Spurs, but I mean, he holds a lot of water when it comes to San Antonio, a little bit more than Kawhi. All right, man, we're going to do the weekend review before we get out of here. Rock, I know you weren't here for majority of the week. You had car problems and you had phone problems at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Unlike everybody that had phone problems yesterday with AT&T. Rewind the week. We talked about a lot of Spurs new arena. Now we know that they're possibly putting it downtown. You had dad rock music, I believe. But let me pull that up while I'm talking to you guys here. Two Shots Podcast basically is having they had a Spotify dad rock for the weekend. Let me bring that up here so you can kind of get the link. Oh man. Before I do that, we also talked about Selena. Rock. I saw the documentary, and Gio and I were talking. Gio made the case that Selena would be as big as Beyonce, and I told him no, I don't think so.
Yeah, she would.
What's yours?
She would. 1,000%, Rudy. She would be as big as Beyonce if she was still alive today. Just her way she gravitated towards people, and given, it's, especially this state, but just given the increase in Hispanics in general, the Hispanic population, people would absolutely flock to her. She would have that cultural, as Beyonce has, she would have people going crazy over her. I think you could even, take it up a notch and say she would have, fans instead of Swifties. You would have, I don't know what you would call them, Quintanillas or Selenas, whatever nickname you want to have. But yeah, I think she would have been up there.
Yeah, that was our big entertainment news for this week, talking about that. I say she wouldn't have been as big as Taylor Swift or Beyonce. And if you want to check all of our episodes out, all you got to do is go to YouTube, search Alamo City Podcast, search Sweep the League. You can find all of our past episodes for the week. If you want to debate about the Selena talk, you can debate about that. You want to debate about Spurs talk, you can debate about that. You want to remember history with us. See, where does so-and-so fit in this era? Can you bring George the Iceman Gervin to this era? How much would he average? We're going to get into all of that next week because George Gervin is actually getting honored tonight in Detroit. They're honoring him due to the fact that the St. Cecilia. We're going to talk to Derek Gervin about that next week. All those stories about St. Cecilia's gym, classic battles, George Gervin, Magic Johnson. A lot of those guys are playing in that gym at the same time. Just imagining the games that were happening there. Derek's going to let us know all about that. Also, man, shout out to Derek, Sweep the League's own Derek Gervin. He's getting honored this Sunday at Eastwood Community Baptist Church in Detroit. So congratulations to Derek.
Yeah.
It's a huge weekend for the Gervin family. Everybody in Detroit is celebrating. Derek Gervin, George Gervin, also their sister. They're all getting celebrated in Detroit. So congrats to the Gervin family out there. We're very proud of y'all here from Sweep the League. And there you can see right here, Dad Rock playlist. Definitely hit up Spotify. The link's right there. So you can, they got some great music. We suggested Creed's on their Rock. I mean, that's Gio's band is Creed. So definitely want to check out the Dad Rock playlist. But until Monday, man, we're done sweeping the league for the week. For the Rock, for Coach Gio, Derek, we'll be back on Monday. This is Rudy Campos Jr. Until we sweep the league again. See you later, knuckleheads.
Peace.